I saw Sleeping with Other People. Have you seen that?
No.
Jason Sudeikis in it. You have to believe for the first 10 minutes of the movie during the flashback portion that he's a college student, which doesn't work because he's our age.
Right.
It's a very honest relationship type movie in the When Harry Met Sally mode, because they're just going to be friends.
I'm sure I told you this, but I did improv with Jason Sudeikis back in the day.
You did?
Before he was big.
Really?
Yeah, he used to do comedy sports in Kansas City, and they came up to do a show at our comedy club, and Jason Sudeikis was one of the performers.
How was he?
He's hilarious, of course.
Yeah?
Yeah. They did a scene, and for the suggestion, we asked for something regional that they wouldn't know what it is. And someone said bubbler, and they really didn't know what it was. And so they did a scene about a machine that made bubbles.
A bubbler, for all of you watching outside of the upper central Midwest, is a drinking fountain. Drinking fountain, as you call it down south.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode, I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good, it might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. Happy Easter, Craig.
Ho ho!
Are you doing anything to celebrate?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. It used to be a big deal, but then it's like, you know what? I can buy chocolate whenever.
Well, I thought we could ring in this popular Christian holiday with a nice biblical epic. Not so fast. The problem with biblical epics is that they're all a bit too epic. Most of them clock in at about 3 hours and change, and that's just a little too much time to spend on the back-breaking old leather couch. So I thought, what if we have a modern religious epic based on a different best-selling book? Craig, are you ready for the end times? Be careful, or you might be one of the ones who are left behind.
Oh, good.
Released in 2014, Left Behind stars a bunch of people whose names seem familiar, but nevertheless I don't know their work. Chad Michael Murray, Jordan Sparks.
Yeah, I recognize that one.
And of course, real-life crazy person, Nicolas Cage.
I'm amazed it's taken him so long to get on the show.
This is not the first time Left Behind has been brought to the big screen. There was a version of it made in 2000, starring former sitcom star and current very religious man, Kirk Cameron. I went back and forth on which one to choose to watch for this show. I went for this one because apparently it's the worst of the two.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, Cage can pick him.
LB was nearly universally panned by critics. It currently has a 2% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. However, two fellows who really liked the movie were the novel's authors, Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins, who had this to say. "It is the best movie I've ever seen on the rapture," says LaHaye, while Jenkins says, "I believe it does justice to the novel and will renew interest in the entire series." When asked if it was good, Jenkins said, "It's better than good."
Better than good is better. That is...
For your gift today, I got you something religious and fun.
Ooh. It's Joshua.
He is a member of the Bible Spirit Warriors action figure series.
He is going to ride around your city a few times and he's going to blow a horn. He's going to take the Ark of the Covenant into Israel by crossing the Jordan. I do know my stuff. It really does look like he's farting. Or worse.
Are you wondering where all of your friends have disappeared to? Well, I think that they have ascended to the old leather couch to join us as we watch the modern religious epic Left Behind. Is little Joshua ready for this experience?
I am ready to destroy the Canaanites.
Chloe Steele has just arrived at the airport, and she calls her mom. See, they're planning a surprise party for Dad's birthday, but it turns out Dad has to work. He's got to fly to Heathrow tonight.
You see, her father's a pilot of a plane.
Chloe is very disappointed, and it turns out her mother is very religious.
She decides to wait for her father at the airport so she can at least say hi.
Buck Williams, a famous investigative journalist, is also at the airport, and he gets accosted by a crazy Bible lady who tells him,
Matthew 24 verse 7 says that there shall be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in divers places.
It's a good thing I'm not a diver. Chloe comes and gets in on the conversation too.
And says, hey, crazy woman, shut up about God.
Why would this guy still be here watching this?
I'm a mildly famous person. I can leave whenever I want.
Is that Jordan Sparks?
I don't know.
I want to know who Jordan is.
I crossed the Jordan! It was not Sparky!
So anyway, tell me more about this Bible. Chloe chats a little bit more with Buck Williams, investigative journalist.
Investigative journalist. Remember?
That investigative journalism, it really pays off.
It turns out that 1 year ago, Mom got religion.
Mom's gone all goo-goo for God.
I've decided to go with wacko.
I like that word. Wacko.
The first time I went wacko was when I was about 13. It was quite a transformative experience for me. Luckily, my parents never walked in on me going wacko. Everything I've seen in this movie so far seems over-rehearsed.
Yep.
Even just that little lipstick maneuver she just did.
Dad shows up to the airport. That's Ray Steele. Captain Ray Steele.
Let me push that button for you. Going up in an elevator. Nicolas Cage.
That will be my first of many terrible Nicolas Cage impersonations I'll be doing this evening.
Chloe sees her dad coming up the escalator flirting with the stewardess.
What are you doing here?
He's got his Elvis burns on.
Why, hello there.
Oh.
You're Cameron Williams. Holy cow.
Cecil's brought us a gift. Thank you, Cecil.
I am the Dark Lord.
Who's that girl?
What girl?
That flight attendant?
Don't even know her name. I just get a little strange on the plane every once in a while. She's really hot. Just need a little strange every once in a while. Or else I go wacko too much.
Chloe, your mom means the world to me. I'm not going to do anything to mess that up.
Just gonna get a little strange on the plane.
A luggage handler speeds up and he hands Chloe 2 tickets to see U2 in England. These are for your dad, he says.
Her dad has known about this trip for a long time, and she thinks that he's planning on having the sex with the pretty lady.
Chloe gives them to Buck and says, "Give these to my dad." "All right, pretty lady, I'll do it." Later on in the car, when she sees that Dad left his wedding ring behind, she has her suspicions.
The 2013 Lexus. Complete with a hidey hole for your wedding rings.
Drive the Lexus Philanderer today. On the plane, Buck invades the cockpit, going against every TSA regulation in the book, and gives Ray the U2 tickets.
Now I'm going to go down underneath all this and look at people's luggage. Investigative journalist.
I am gonna find a way to pay you back.
At this point, he must be a platinum member of the Mile High Club.
Canton Flight 257.
PanCon. Their specialty is panna cotta. This plane is filled with all kinds of characters.
There's the Texan businessman.
A dotty old couple.
It's Frank Sinatra.
What's that?
There's the angry dwarf. There's the Muslim guy.
A mom. Another mom.
Is that Quavantine Wallace?
I don't think so.
I guess there's people in the other part of the plane, but who cares about them?
There he goes. He's gonna do some tricks.
Wanna know how I drive?
Why you're so defensive?
How do I reach the urinal?
What's a urinal?
Chloe comes home to see her mom and her little brother, Raimi.
Did you get me anything at the airport?
I've always wanted a gift from the airport.
The brand new baseball glove that I've been asking for.
Smack. If I knew you were coming, I'd have prepared some dogma.
Has a tense conversation with her mom.
That is why God brought you here.
God did not bring me home.
PanCon brought me home. I'm just going to take my beloved brother Raimi to the mall.
Can we listen to something blander? Hip-hop dancers, face painters, these people surely will be left behind.
Good. Kids have balloons. That's a sign that it's going to happen any second now, because that'll be a good visual.
Yeah. Suddenly, people start disappearing. Ha ha! Yes!
The balloons!
Panic erupts.
And the looting begins immediately. Looking for wallets in the clothes that has been left behind.
They're going nuts.
She runs to her car. A plane crashes into her car.
Up in the air, there's panic.
They could only afford Quavantine Wallace for one day.
I don't think that's her.
Captain Steele wasn't at the controls, and the plane starts going crazy. Turns out the co-pilot's gone.
I'm never going to get to that U2 concert now. It'd be nice if there was one little kid left on the plane, and he's like, "What did I do?" There's this druggy lady who thinks she's on a bad trip.
It's a bad trip.
She gets all hopped up on a trip. She's on a Zoom.
Can you tell me what you saw?
I saw the same thing you did. Doesn't look any different from down here.
It's not all about you being short.
Ray turns the plane around and heads back to JFK.
Because he doesn't even know if England's still there.
The little man is suspicious of the Muslim man. He thinks that terrorists have caused people to vanish. Oh, you sneaky little imp. I think that was an Apple sound effect. I've used that in videos.
Shall we hear it now?
Meanwhile, back on the ground, Chloe is wandering around. She's trying to find Raimi. What the hell?
The insane clown posse.
The gathering of the Juggalos just won't be the same this year.
She goes to the hospital. Raimi's might be at the hospital. He's not.
Schießt ein Fenster. Shoot the glass. Alan Rickman.
She walks into the baby ward, whatever that's called. I don't know. She walks into the where the babies are stored, and they're all gone too.
There's only one baby left. What's his name? Damien Thorne. Okay, well, I guess you're my son now, Damien. Suddenly, Ray sees a plane coming right towards him. Because the pilots aren't there. There's nobody flying the plane. Ray takes evasive action, and his wing gets clipped.
Repeat, this is an emergency.
Pancon, this is air traffic control. No doy. Repeat, no doy. Buck Williams, investigative journalist, goes out to survey the damage. There's a fuel leak. Suddenly, the fuel catches on fire.
No one is gonna die, you hear me?
Except the people on the right side of the plane. People on the left side of the plane will be fine.
And I think the junkie might already be dead, but I'm not certain.
Is this the end of the plane? No, because the fuel burns itself out and everything's fine. But now we're very low on fuel.
Can't believe we can't reach anyone.
You have a satellite phone?
Investigative journalist.
So we've been told.
She goes home. You got to pray just to make it today.
It's always a special time here on the show when you quote rap lyrics, Craig. It's like seeing a rare exotic bird.
Her mom's gone.
In the middle of a shower. Ray finds that he's going to have to start descending early. And the only hope is to get back to JFK.
I've got an idea. I'm going to take off all my clothes and then hide. And then I'll call in Buck and I'll play a trick on him.
Ray looks through the personal effects of his co-pilot, and he sees that he's got a extra religious watch. He starts to put things together.
Either I'm going crazy, or the entire world is insane.
That's what he says every night before going to bed.
These people have all disappeared and gone to heaven.
It's the rapture.
Could it be? Yes. There's a grieving mother in the back of the plane. She wants to know where her baby is, and she grabs a gun.
Ma'am, I am frightened by what you're doing, but I am from Texas, and so I'll support your Second Amendment rights. Shoot away.
What do you think's going on?
He's trying to take her from me.
He's that children snatcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
And somebody put something in my drink. I should have known he would find a way.
Oh, she's a Ramones fan.
Yeah.
Somebody put something in my drink.
Maybe I really am crazy.
But here's my number, so call me maybe.
Now, Craig, rap lyrics are one thing, but I will not have you quote Carly Rae Jepsen on this show.
Oh, she's adorable.
Buck Williams, investigative journalist, talks her down. Chloe visits a church.
Now we get to find out who the spotlight priests are.
The pastor is still there. Turns out that he didn't really believe in his heart, and so God kicked him to the curb.
You lied to me about your wife. You lied to your wife about this trip. You even lied to your own daughter.
About your wife. Ray finally contacts someone at JFK.
So it is everywhere.
The whole planet, buddy. No one knows how many, but millions.
Including Larry Mullen Jr. That's right, U2 has finally broken up. He says, you can't land here. All the runways are cluttered with planes filled with empty clothes. We can't move them. You gotta go somewhere else, man. Ray says, I can't do that. I don't got no fuel. I gotta land there, okay?
You know, they're doomed. Or are they? Maybe they can find someplace other than the airports to land in.
Can't let those people back there go down without ever having a chance to undo some of their mistakes.
Yeah, like their mistakes of being Buddhist. Chloe climbs atop a bridge. She's gonna jump.
Oh, I want her to start singing up there.
Tell me what does it...
I thought this needed a splashy musical number. Suddenly she gets a call. It's Buck Williams, investigative journalist. And he says, I got your dad on the horn. Dad says, I'm in trouble. I got no place to land. Chloe says, leave it to me.
Gotta save plane. She steals a evaporated person's motorcycle.
God forgive me for swiping this crotch rocket.
She steals a truck, and she, like, knocks over everything in the most immaculate construction zone. Nice, brand new, smooth road.
Okay, folks, I need your full attention as we go through the emergency procedures.
For those of you with connecting flights, I have gate information.
But I need a bright visual point of reference so I can see where the landing zone is.
Time for me to immolate myself.
How did it get burned?
Ray lands the plane. Everyone is safe.
Everyone's cleared out of the plane.
You did a great job.
Oh, don't bring up you two. Chloe finds the person she's been looking for. You know, that guy she met at an airport for a couple minutes. And then she goes and says hi to her dad.
I thought you might want these.
These are from Mom's secret piercings.
I'm afraid this is just the beginning.
Not for this franchise.
Nope.
I'm afraid this is the end.
It's the end of the world, man.
Either I'm going crazy, or the whole world is insane. Left Behind. It's simply rapturelicious.
It's a raptured appendix.
I almost hesitate to say this, but it's not as terrible as I thought it was going to be.
It was not a good movie at all.
No.
But
and the first half hour is dreadful.
It's endless.
The words that kept going through my head watching the first half hour was cheap, phony, and dumb.
Exposition.
And I think it continued to be cheap, phony, and dumb throughout. However, you sort of get inured to it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when you spend all day under fluorescent lighting, eventually you don't notice it anymore.
Also, the stakes are raised a lot higher very quickly.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye.
Once the chaos happens, it sort of naturally draws you in. The best thing about this movie was Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
giving a very understated performance. He really reined it in for this one.
Yeah, he's just sitting there thinking, solving a mystery while flying a plane. Which actually is an interesting concept for anything.
And, you know, when he gets emotional, you believe it. And it really reminds you that despite all of his real-life craziness...
And his on-screen craziness...
He really is a good actor. I mean, you know, they gave him that Oscar for a reason.
This movie had such a low estimation of society.
Yeah.
That we were one disaster away from everyone going insane.
It also has a very cynical view of humanity.
Yeah.
Simply that, if you do drugs, you can't go to heaven. If you are an avaricious dwarf, God doesn't want you.
If you're a Muslim, that's the big one.
A faithful Muslim who prays to God.
Everything he does in the movie shows that he's a good guy. But...
Why was the old lady left behind? Why didn't she get taken away? Is she a senile atheist?
She's Jewish, I don't know. No offense, Joshua. We don't know what she did in her youth. She did a lot of bad shit back in the 50s. The first Christian we meet in the movie is a monster. They started out with the most negative image of a Christian, and I'm quite surprised by that.
Well, I think the authors are quite fundamentalist. They've often been criticized for that. The book is not exactly a fair and balanced assessment of faith.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I actually have not read the book, so I maybe am talking out my neck.
Interesting thing about Chloe, she seems to believe in God.
Yeah.
She just hates the guy. You can't hate God and not believe in God.
It seems like she was simply left behind because she's the protagonist. When the rapture comes, God will leave behind all of the complicated people. And he'll just bring up the people who've got religious watches and Bible studies in their calendar. No one really has a relationship with anyone else that's meaningful. Even Dad and Chloe. There's no connection between anyone that's genuine.
Political dog whistles are when you say something to your base and you're not saying it's straight, but you're
implying something.
Yeah, you're implying something. Like, oh, you don't want to go to that restaurant since it's in a bad part of town. It's like, oh, you mean black people live there.
Sure.
Type thing. No Child Left Behind. It was President Bush, his whole education program. That was a huge dog whistle to the Christian community. This was such a hit. Left Behind is what they say people are if you aren't picked up in the rapture. That was something figured out by some think tank. It's like, oh yes, we'll make Christians like us more if we call it this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
Dick Cheney, you sneaky devil. I know you had a hand in that.
Final thoughts on Left Behind?
Now that I've seen it, I'm ready to leave it behind.
There we go. Concise reviewing. right here in the basement.
Well, we don't want you to be left behind. We want you to stay ahead of the curve. And you can do that by going to our website, welcometothebasementshow.com. There are all of our episodes. There are essays by Craig Johnson, fascinating stuff. And there's a PayPal donation button. You can donate a few dollars, hard-earned dollars, might I add, to support our show.
We don't promise salvation, but we appreciate it.
Donors such as Leanna, who writes, my 10th graders are studying scary movies this quarter, and we are analyzing film reviews. We watched your episode of The Wolfman, and the kids loved it. They're excited to write their own reviews, and the class sends a special hello to Ernesto.
Ah.
He's asleep. I love it when I hear stories like that, when people say, oh, I watched your videos and I'm teaching them to my students. That's the greatest thing.
I know, I feel like Harper Lee.
If you want to find out who the rest of our generous donors are and find out the contents of our mailbag, you can watch Welcome to the Basement Unboxing this Friday.
And now it's time for Seen It!
Seen It!
Oh, no. Christian toy construction just ain't what it used to be.
No, it's not.
In our first episode of the season, that would be Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, we talked about movies that made us shed a tear. Well, our viewers have responded with their own personal tearjerkers.
P.D. Schiff writes, the ending of Field of Dreams just slays me every time. But he lived long enough to type this out before he was slayed.
Seen it, Ray. Seen it.
I went to the Field of Dreams like a year after this movie came out.
How was it?
Slightly plowed over.
Oh.
But still, I ran around the bases without my shoes on.
Just like you were a shoeless Joe.
Shoeless Joe, yeah.
I enjoyed this movie. I think I would have been more emotionally affected by it if I was into baseball. But it still kind of makes you...
into baseball.
Yeah. Larry Polk Trainer says, only movie that's ever made me cry was Lynch's The Straight Story. Beautiful film. Just seen it.
I've seen it in the theater.
David Lynch's G-rated movie.
Yes.
It might just be the weirdest one in his canon in that it's so unweird.
Yes. Another very Midwestern movie.
But it still has David Lynch's fingerprints all over it. Sissy Spacek's oddball performance.
Holding on to close-ups for just a second or two longer than they should be.
It's a very David Lynch movie, and at the same time it's a very Disney movie, which it was made for Disney. So it might be David Lynch's finest balancing act.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. I love every inch of this. Although I know someone who's from the town in Iowa where it's set, and they hate the movie because they look like a bunch of dopes.
The thing I like most about it is anytime Wisconsin is mentioned, someone says, Wisconsin, that's a real party state.
And it is.
I am surprised that this is G-rated. This came out in 99, I believe. If this came out today, just the smoking and drinking alone would have given it a PG-13.
Oh, yeah. Schmandolf writes, the Braveheart freedom scene is usually enough to get people going. Seen it!
The last time I saw Braveheart, it did get me.
Yeah, it's
as much as I didn't want it to.
They have that thing, it happens so often in movies, and it happened in your beloved Revenant movie of the vision of the dead wife. Dead wives, man. They're only good for one thing, coming back to visit you when you're in your hour of crisis.
Well, you know, it's a powerful thing, a dead wife.
And it works every damn time.
That's why they do it.
Yeah.
Matthew Shell writes, I cried at the end of The Green Mile. Seen it.
Not seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Michael Clarke Duncan's performance is outstanding. Did he get nominated for an Oscar?
He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
You know, it's a very entertaining movie. Walking the mile. For you Harry Dean Stanton fans, you'll want to check it out.
He's in it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I will see it.
Green Mile would be a good sick day movie. Next time you're feeling under the weather, pop in The Green Mile.
That's seen it.
And that's our show. We watched Left Behind. Well, all those people, what are they going to do now that they've been left behind? Who knows?
If only there was some sort of book that would tell us.
We had a good time visiting with you. What am I, someone's grandmother?
Yeah.
We had a good time on this show preventing you from... I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Good night.
Good night. But of that day and that hour knoweth no man. Oh yeah, Mark. You know Mark.
Come on. Don't spoil the grooves with Bible verses.
You wanna know how I drive? How do I reach the urinal?